Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Leslie Hoglund. Sorry I couldn't be with you today, but I wanted to at least provide a brief update of some things that I've been working on with the RAFT project, just kind of loosely on the side. I first started engagement with the city of Petersburg or city liaisons with Petersburg and took a look at 7 existing assessments and reports that have been conducted over the last several years between 2016 and 2023, which put forth about 21 different recommendations on how to address food security, food access, food equity. So really look to just synthesize the information that was already gathered and already assessed and see what might come from that. Something that we see a lot of is assessment fatigue of communities. And we're constantly asking, what can we do? What should we do? But then we never, ever sort of matriculate into the doing part. And so I find that often kind of providing support and consultation to city leaders within the local government, sector leaders, and other coalition collaborators is really helpful toward implementation planning. So it's how do we bring these ideas to fruition? How do we actually get the idea going? And so I provided a scope of work for about 60 hours of my time over 6 months to really equip leaders to respond in the city of Petersburg. So there were 4 main categories of the recommendations, which I found very helpful. Is certainly a great place to start, but needs some prioritization. So those categories included additional assessment and research, transportation-related interventions, business and market-related interventions that seem to have a lot of interest through policies, practices, procedures related to the retail market and business enterprise related to food access and security, and then charitable food environment-related interventions. There were some key limitations, 2 that I will point out from the sort of systematic review of these assessment reports, is that the lived experience of Petersburg residents was very, very limited in terms of almost non-existent. Most of the analysis was done at a quantitative level. You're just looking at numbers. And so you start data informed, but it wasn't really grounded in the truth of the lived experience of Petersburg residents and understanding kind of the day-to-day, how do they access food? How do they store their food? Where do they buy their food? What is the process they take to get their food? What are they spending on their food? And all those kinds of minutia of what creates a food secure community. And so the lived experience part was definitely lacking. And then the other part was related to very policy heavy interventions. And so interesting that some of these categories overlap. And so when it comes to prioritization, I think it's going to be really easy to help equip local leaders to see the connections that if by doing this, it helps enable that and vice versa. And that, charitable food systems within a community are important. We got to feed the people in line while we work on the upper stream policy systems and other environmental strategies at the same time. It can't just be anti-hunger, it's got to be food security too. So showing those overlaps, showing where those connections can be made, I think is helpful when implementation planning and trying to get these ideas, again, to bring them to fruition, to bring them to actually be and to exist. So the offer still stands for the scope of work to engage city leaders, sector and coalition collaborators to develop plans for implementation, and then even beyond that, to implement and evaluate the process that is undertaken. With the city of Hopewell, I've been able to engage the Healthy Families Program and conduct the community health food security assessment of just the 37 program participants that reside in the city of Hopewell. We know Hopewell has many challenges related to food security and food access. And it was really important to me with this program to take a very sort of internal lived experience approach with it. So I provided interview training to 2 community health workers from the program who reside in Hopewell. So it's going to be a peer-to-peer interview process. So where I'm just sort of mentoring and coaching on the outset and doing the data quality assurance part. The program participants are working within themselves to do the interviewing of each other. So the recruitment letters went out early April, and so registration for those interviews is underway now. It is beginning, and so we hope to have interviews completed at the latest by the end of May. And then hopefully in that timeframe, we'll be able to host a community dialogue for those 37 program participants to come and hear the results of the data, kind of discuss and dialogue kind of action steps or action strategies or recommendations for such. And then bring together city and program stakeholders with the program participants to talk about, okay, well, how do we bring these action ideas and strategies to be? How do we implement them? How do we get them in action? So we should hopefully wrap up this process by the end of June, and hopefully will help the program to strengthen their opportunities for potential future grant funding or for other stakeholder collaborations related to increasing food access and security in the city of Hopewell, with specific focus on the Healthy Families Program participants. So that's what I've been engaged in over the last few months, and look forward to catching up with you all and seeing how else I may be able to contribute to the great work that's happened so far.